everybody, welcome back to You Tips for You. If you're new to You Tips for You, a new subscriber, please check out my other videos because I have a lot of wonderful topics up that you'll find very helpful. Just go to my channel, browse my videos. There's a lot of things, health, fitness, different things that I think you'll find very helpful. And I love your comments. And thanks so much for the wonderful feedback. I'm so glad my videos are helping you all. Today I want to talk to you about binge eating. Now we all eat from time to time too much. You know, Thanksgiving, holidays, you go to a wedding, there's a lot of food, you go to a buffet, you're on vacation. So we're all guilty of overeating at one point or another. That's really not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about compulsive overeating where you're kind of losing control of how much you're eating and exactly what you're doing. So you're eating without being aware of how much you're consuming. This can go on for 2 hours, sometimes it goes on all day. Someone who maybe eats in secret, doesn't want to be seen eating, that's a compulsive eater with a binge eating disorder. Someone who eats to the extent where they feel absolutely awful about themselves during the eating binge as well as afterwards, that person has a binge eating disorder. There are, eating for emotional reasons is usually an indicator for binge eating disorder. And of course it's very unhealthy for you because it leads to obesity, and that leads to diseases such as cancer, gallbladder problems, diabetes, high blood pressure, even just limited ability to walk around, joint problems. It's almost handicapping yourself from things that you'd like to do in your life because you're so uncomfortable with the weight gain. Now, don't feel that you're helpless and that there's nothing you can do, because there is help for you out there. There are things that you can do to help yourself get over the binge eating disorder. When a person feels disconnected in some way, they turn to food for comfort. And we've all turned to food for comfort. I mean, who doesn't like to come home on a cold day and have a nice warm bowl of soup, or you're in a movie theater and you're eating a bunch of popcorn. I mean, we all associate fun and happy things with food. It's when it becomes something that you do so often, that you overeat so often, that your body just can't handle that load of food. I mean, if you think about it like a car, your body is like a machine, and it can only handle and process so much food at one time. So, for example, the car, if you were to just keep filling and filling that gas tank with gasoline, the gasoline would eventually just run out of the gas tank all over the ground. But let's say you had an alternate fuel tank, that once you filled up the first fuel tank, then the second fuel tank would get the excess. But then the trade-off would be that you would lose gas mileage, that you would drive the car would be heavier, and this would affect your gas mileage. Well, you wouldn't want to do that, because who wants to get worse gas mileage, right? It's costing you more money. You're not getting as far as you can on a tank of gas that you normally would get. Well, this is the same thing with your body. Your body can only process so many calories at once. I mean, your organs can only take so much food at once, your stomach, and what it'll do is it'll compensate for the excess by storing that excess as fat. And it doesn't just store it where you see it, your hips and thighs, and it actually stores it also around your organs. That's what leads to a lot of disease. And once this cycle begins of binge eating, it leads to more binge eating, because the negative feelings, and you feel bad about yourself, and so you try to deal with that emotion by eating more. And it's like a vicious circle. You just kind of go around and around. You feel bad, you eat, then you feel bad after you eat, so you eat some more, and you never really get out of it, and then the weight just keeps coming on and coming on. And you say, okay, well, I'll go on a diet. Well, dieting is really not the answer for someone who has a binge eating disorder, because When you start to deprive yourself of calories, it only makes you want the food even more. It becomes almost obsessive. You think about it all day long. You're feeling deprived. The key is not to be in an association with food where it's good and it's bad and it's depriving you or it's not depriving you. You want to eat to maintain a healthy, balanced diet, healthy life. You want to have a good relationship with food. You don't want to use it to deal with emotions or loneliness. Perhaps, you're a lonely person. You haven't found the right companion, so you're kind of filling up your void with food. And again, it's only a temporary void, so what you have to deal with are the emotions of why are you eating like that. Examine your life. Examine your friendships and your relationships. Try not to push people away. Try not to be always on your own, secretive and antisocial, because of course that enables you to continue binge eating. A lot of people want to do that in secret. So develop a healthy relationship with your food. The other thing you can do is you want to make sure that you don't get excessively hungry where you just start devouring food. Many people skip breakfast, they'll have a cup of coffee, whatever, they'll work all day, and then at night they get home, they're ravenous, and they just, they'll eat a pound of pasta, they'll go to desserts, and they'll just keep on going throughout the whole night. Well, your body, first of all, has slowed its metabolism down during the day because you haven't fed it. Then you start piling in the calories at night, all through the evening while you're awake, and you're excessively loading calories onto your body, and then you go to sleep. Well, this starts to put the weight on, and over time, you eventually gain too much weight. What you have to do is eat several small meals throughout the day. Breakfast is mandatory. Have things that will satiate you, will make you feel full. I mean, have an egg. Everyone thinks eggs are bad for you. Well, the new studies say eggs are not bad for you. They've tested eggs. They've given people eggs every single day for weeks, several eggs a day, and it had no effect on their cholesterol. So eggs are not the enemy anymore. Cholesterol is really about, fats in the diet and things like that. So have that. Have a bowl of cereal. Have a glass of orange juice, have some nuts and whole grains, things that fill you up, and you'll be fine for a while. Now, don't let so much time go by to the next meal, and choose healthy things. If you've had those foods for breakfast, try to have something different now when you have your snack. Have an apple, have some peanut butter. It'll tide you over till lunch, and maybe lunch is a sandwich or a salad. I mean, don't let more than 3 or 4 hours go by where you will feed yourself again. Small meals, so the food is coming again. You don't have to eat and eat because it's going to be a while until you eat again. You're going to give yourself small amounts along the way. Now, when you get a craving, and sometimes they can really be fierce, and you're craving something, and you're trying to use the discipline because you know that you're going to, it's going to trigger a whole cascade into other eating, wait 10 or 15 minutes. Most cravings last 10 or 15 minutes. And in that time, try to distract yourself with something positive. Either exercise, go for a walk, call a friend. Maybe you could take up knitting. And something that keeps you focused and keeps you busy. Lots of times watching TV is not a good idea because there's a lot of food commercials. It's also idle time, and you'll start kind of feeling like you want to eat something. You have to do something active. Get on the computer, start looking up things, researching things, shopping on the computer. Lots of times I'll sit at the computer researching something, and I can sit there for hours. I can forget to eat and drink because I'm so interested in what I'm doing. Get a new hobby. Let that be something positive in your life. You need a positive influence to counteract the negative feelings that cause you to eat. And I know you worry about yourself. Those of you who binge eat, you're not just eating and thinking, oh, I don't care. You're worrying about it. I know you care. Care about your body. You care what you're doing. It's just that you can't get out of the spiral. You need a little help. Get counseling if you need it. A lot of the reasons that cause binge eating are psychological. Sometimes it's depression related. Sometimes there isn't enough serotonin in the brain, and you're feeding that with food and carbs and things like that. There's lots of support groups. There's online things that you can do if you don't want to get out there and you're not ready to deal with other people with it yet. and really have friends, turn to your family members, talk to people. That's what you need. You don't want to be lonely. You don't want to be that way. And wait for those cravings to pass while you're doing those activities. And it's baby steps. I mean, you don't have to bite off more than you can chew right in the beginning. Obviously, you'd like to see instant results, but that doesn't always work. It doesn't work with most things. So let's say you binge eat 3 portions or 4 portions or 4 meals. Well, cut it down to 3 meals, then 2 meals. Then eventually maybe you can get yourself to 1 meal. Choose better foods, vegetables, lean meats, whole grain fibers, things that will fill you up. Those whole grain fibers, they add bulk to your diet, they fill you up, they keep you full longer. Just a simple thing. When I go to a Chinese restaurant, I love Chinese food. If I order brown rice, and I always do, I will feel full much longer than if I have the white rice. Occasionally I've been somewhere and they actually don't serve brown rice. As shocked as I am, but what am I going to do? So I'll eat some of the white rice. Well, usually I'm hungry again within 2 hours because it just doesn't fill me. And of course the vegetables, they kind of disappear quickly. I have a high metabolism because I exercise, so it's processed quick. So I need the carbs. And you'll find you need the carbs too. Carbohydrates are wonderful. Keep it whole grain. Feed yourself, but don't deprive yourself. Don't, give yourself permission to eat. Don't think of yourself as a bad person. You're not. You're a wonderful person, and you're just caught up in something that it's very hard to control, and you're not alone. It's one of the most common eating disorders there are, binge eating. It's very common, and it's very hard to deal with these kinds of things because, of course, we have to eat to survive. So any person who has an eating disorder can't really just give it up and leave it alone like drugs or alcohol because you need it to live. You have to eat. So you have to learn how to have a healthy relationship with your food.